Good afternoon, everyone. It is 1 o'clock on a Tuesday here in the UK, and that means that you are live with Speaker Insight, where we help speakers, authors, and coaches to build a portfolio business on your terms. My name is Helena.
And I'm Kelly.
And we have the lovely Emmet Naughton with us, and we're just going to talk about what we do first of all, and then we'll introduce you to Emmet, because we're talking all about how to be a better speaker today. But part of that is because we are also the founders of the Facebook group called the Connection Hub, which has over 11,000 members who are sharing out speaking opportunities, connecting to each other, connecting to professionals like the web designers, the speaker agents, the people that help the speaker author coaches build that portfolio business, the glue that kind of holds them together. So it's a really great place. If you've not yet joined the Connection Hub, please do, because that's where the real conversation takes place, and that's where we help you build your business.
And every Tuesday at 1 p.m, just like today, we go live in the Connection Hub and on our page just to offer you some training of what we've had results and people, little black book people, and all the questions that get answered in the Connection Hub. We bring ourselves and guest experts in to train you on the hot topics. And we know many of you join us live, can see you watching at the moment. So say hi in the comments, who you are, where you're watching from. We know that we have a worldwide audience, so it's always lovely to hear who you are and put those little faces and names next to the numbers that we can see. And if you're watching this on the replay, like probably about 70 to 80% of our audience do, put hashtag replay in the comments and we'll know that you're watching on the catch up. All the way through the live and on the replay, please ask your questions. It's a really interactive session. And when we bring experts in, it's the perfect time for you to pick their brains, especially when we have someone who's passionate about public speaking as much as Emmet is.
Yeah. And the first thing that we're always going to do is give you an opportunity. We want to hear from you, and we want to encourage you to do this, whether you're hashtag replaying or not. We want to encourage you to really tell us, what is the buzz in your business? What's the thing that's exciting, the new thing, the old thing that you're bringing back in? What have you done? Maybe you've actually gone and run, like I did, a workshop actually with real people in a room last week. That was quite fun and exciting for me. So we want to know what's going on that's actually giving you a buzz in your business, because that helps people get to know you at a really different level. So
Okay, so we'll kick off with our buzz, as we always do, while you're thinking about what's going on in your business. I know that David's probably going to say that he's drinking cognac from where he is at the moment. But the buzz in our business at the moment is the fact that we yesterday. Is that your feedback? I can hear.
Yeah, I could as well, but it seems to have gone, so I don't know where that's come from. Who knows?
So yesterday in our membership site, Changemaker Central, we basically ran our first quarterly business boost day, where we help our speakers and coaches. Very random why I'm getting feedback. I'm hearing myself.
Really random.
I don't like to hear my dulcet
tones. Then we'll work something out for you.
Random. Have you got Facebook open, Helena?
I've got it open, but
I'll look at the comments. So anyway, in our playbook that we have, which is what our members get, this is our year planner, we encourage them to, on a 90-day basis, to review what's happened over the last quarter, what's worked in their business, what's gone well and what hasn't. And then we basically have the whole session around how can we do it better, understanding how we're feeling and how we're managing our business. And then we forecast for the next quarter and we set those goals and we help our members reverse engineer week by week over the next 13 weeks. What do they have to do each week to hit that goal? And this is really what building a business on your terms is all about. It's about business management. And so, we've got the experts like Emmet here in public speaking, but we help people with the business management and the business planning, which is another important part, as well as the skills to running a business as a speaker, author, or coach. So we had a really good day. It was an intense day yesterday, but we've had a lot of our members have lots of aha moments. So, and that was the first one that we run of this year. Looking forward to the next quarter too. So, Emmet, what's the buzz in your business? What's going on in your world?
Yeah, so I think the word that comes to my mind is empowering. I'm always trying to find new ways, creative ways to empower others.
Mm.
That's what I get a big kick from. So we're currently we just launched a speaker challenge, and what that is basically some of the greatest speakers, their greatest secrets, and we break that down into a very simple challenge to people who sign up, and we challenge them in a video on an email, and we say, hey, did you know that Steve Jobs, Martin Luther King, Winston Churchill, etc. use these secrets? They're really powerful, they're very simple, and they can make a massive impact in your life. And we challenge the listener, the customer, the speaker, we challenge them to put that into their daily life and see the results. So that's a 4-day challenge, and we're really excited about that because we want to empower others.
That's really great.
Perfect.
I
So the
mean,
link's in the comments, guys, if you want to sign up to that challenge, and it's a free challenge. And of course, you're going to get loads of value and insight and learn from the greats. So why would you not?
yeah, completely. And I'm just going to read out a couple of things Stephen's actually saying around being, because he attended the Business Boost Day yesterday. He's saying actually the buzz in his business is about being a change maker and getting organized at last. And I'm pretty certain that there are a lot of speakers, authors, and coaches who are going, hang on a minute, what does that look like and sound like? That sounds pretty cool. And David's saying that he managed to write his book, write a book the other weekend in an hour and 38 minutes, which always astounds me.
Wow,
Was it a book? Was it a pamphlet?
I know. Was it a chapter in a book? What was it? Like, sort of this.
Unless this is his book where he's getting other people to write the content for him, and therefore then he can do it quite quickly. We'll see. I know he's had to dash, so we'll pick up with him back in the Connection Hub.
So today we are speaking all about how to be a better speaker. So let's kick ourselves off and actually really introduce Emmet to you so that you can get a sense of who he is and how he's actually come to sort of being in this world, and hopefully so we can extract some nuggets from there. So Carol, if you've got any questions that you might want to throw at him, then that works really well. But sort of for those of you who've got questions around how do I do this, we're going to introduce you to a nice little concept that he's taken and run with. But before that, we like to get to know who you are. So we know that you have a real passion for public speaking. So who are you and what do you do? But also, how did that come about?
Yeah. So as some of you might have heard my lilt of an accent. I am Irish. I'm from a small town in the southwest of Ireland called Limerick, and I moved to the UK back in 2008, and I came over here to study as a lawyer, and I went ahead and did that, and I found it absolutely bloody boring. So, so I sleeping under a desk and eating sandwiches for lunch, breakfast, dinner was not what I saw as my future. So I then moved into finance, where I spent the next 10 years of my career, which involved a lot of speaking and a lot of talking, and a lot of presenting. I'm someone who,
Emmet, isn't lawyer to finance pretty much the same thing?
Isn't that the same thing?
Some differences. Yes, some differences.
Different size pot. But still a pot.
Sandwiches.
I was just sick of just being at a desk looking at documents. I need to look at people. As a lawyer, okay. I was like, I need to see people. I need to get out there. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then just, I think on the point of speaking, that's something that I was not very good at for a lot of my life, actually. Speaking is a real skill. It's something you have to work on. I think a lot of us take it for granted. We take it for granted that we can talk, but actually being able to speak and speak well is really an empowering skill. It can change your life. Public speaking, if you speak well, will change your life. It changed mine. But I think an important point here is that, as I said, speaking was not always my strong point. I had lots of self-doubt. I didn't like myself as a speaker. I was borderline depressed from the way I was speaking. When I was, I talked about being a lawyer and all that. You don't have to do too much talking actually to other like clients, or you don't have to present. When I went into finance and I got more senior, that's when I started having to speak more in front of large groups of people, and I was terrible. I was terrible, and I suffered mentally from it. Now, what's interesting here is that when I was standing up in front of other people, I had a lot of fight or fright. So a lot of fight or flight in me. And that was triggered actually from a very traumatic period in my childhood, which I didn't realize until I went to therapy and I understood all this. But I want to ask you a question if you're listening right now. If you get anxiety or you feel that pressure or that self-limiting beliefs, ask yourself the question, where is that coming from? It's so important to go back to the source, address it, deal with it. Don't go around it, because I spent years going around the issue and I didn't deal with it. And it got to a point where my mental health was getting impacted. I felt like I couldn't go far in my work. And I thought, oh, you know what? You're not going to be anyone. You're never going to be anyone. You're just going to be useless. And these are crazy thoughts, right?
Yeah, I've known some people who haven't been able to, maybe not even public speaking, but even just ask a question or add their opinion in a board meeting because of like their parents have told them when they were a kid and enforced that children should be seen and not heard, or, all those things that you don't realize until you start unraveling how deep that imprint's been on your psyche, your confidence, and then they realize that, oh, this triggers right back to this time when I was, embarrassed, or the kids picked on me when I did this wrong in class. And, it's crazy, right?
And the same thing is true. I mean, Sarah McGee is just saying, sort of like, true, plenty of us can waffle. Public speaking is entirely different. And she's saying it can even stem back to school plays, etc. So I suspect that, sort of like, I definitely have a school play experience, but it was a slightly different one that actually stopped me kind of performing for the longest time, because I was because I was told that I was smart enough to understand why they would give the lead part to somebody else who would feel hurt, who would feel more hurt if she didn't get it, but I would be able to cope with it. It's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So we've all got those skeletons in the cupboard. And as you say, going around it actually means that you might still be doing some speaking, but you might not be speaking from the best place inside you. And actually that's that piece around how do you develop becoming a really good speaker. And I think part of it is most of us who really do engage people have done some work on not only the craft but also the inside work that allows them to then speak neutrally about the experiences that we've had, which then allows us to add to the learning that we're delivering or the inspiration that we're giving, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think to just also bring up another point here is that there's always a turning point in your life, a kind of a pivotal point. And again, I won't give all the story, but the turning point for me was because of this traumatic incident when I was 6. Now, it was very severe what had happened. Now, fast forward 19 years, right? I'm 25. Now, picture this. I'm in a courtroom. I'm in the Central Criminal Court of Dublin, Ireland, and I'm looking at the guy who had done horrendous things to me back at that age. Horrendous things, right? And I was asked by the barrister, I was caught off guard, and he said to me, will you be able to go up and read your witness statement to the courtroom? And I completely paused. It was my moment to say, these are all the horrendous things you've done, and this is my voice, which is more powerful than any barrister, any judge, anyone else, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't get the nerve. I couldn't get I just couldn't do it. And I looked over at that guy who was crying. He was in bits because what he had done was very wrong, and he knew that. But that moment was I had two ways of going in my life. One was go drink and find myself on a park bench potentially today because I never get over that. Or the other thing is absorb it, learn, grow, get stronger from it, and empower yourself. They're your two options, And
And
obviously,
was that bit,
yeah.
Emmett, for you, that where you weren't able to? I mean, I don't think any person would really be able to do that and any justice in that situation. But that not being able to use your voice, was that the propelling force that made you go into what you do now as a role? Is that wanting to help people really be able to speak in whatever scenario that might be?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my biggest kicks from helping other people and seeing other people grow, because I feel like all the stuff I've been through in my own life, these are really big skills and lessons, and it's empathy. I have empathy for people. Lots of coaches, lots of people, they speak about things and they don't actually have empathy for other people. Because of the trauma I've been through, I understand how important it is to listen and to make people feel like you're on my side, and I build trust with people. And that's a big part of why I'm going into public speaking and want to grow in it so much. And it's crazy. Like last week I applied for TEDx, and now I'm hopefully doing TEDx at the end of the year. And if you told me this 6 years ago, when I was unable to read my witness statement in a courtroom and suffering, to today, I would have said you're absolutely bonkers. I would have said.
Well, it's interesting that you should use that word. That was my shiny shove this morning. The word bonkers came in. How fun! But Joe Fellows has just said, "Wow, what an amazing story." So I love this whole idea that inspiration absolutely is available in every space, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And can you tell the guys and watching where you are now, what you do, and how you help speakers hone their craft now? I know you're really there about supporting them, empathizing, but how do you help speakers hone their craft as well?
Yeah. So firstly, we created a very unique journal, which is the Speaker's Journal. We can talk a little bit about that later.
Stroke.
Yeah, it truly. This is not a sales pitch, right? I'm not.
No.
I'm going to be very honest about this. Is that creating the Speaker's Journal was actually very therapeutic for me, because I want other people not to go through what I went through, and I want them to have tools that I wish I had earlier in my journey.
Yeah.
So
beautiful.
the Speaker's Journal, the Speaker's Journey is actually a representation of a tool I wish I had many years ago.
Yeah.
Right? That's the power of this, because I think that it can really, really help and empower people at all levels of their speaking journey, because it's used by professional speakers and it's used by people at the beginning. It's versatile.
And what would be some examples of those tools, for example, that would have really helped you in the early days?
So one thing that I find incredibly a big gap in the speakers market, the coaching market, whatever, was that no one seems to be journaling their speaking journey, right? And every time you have a moment to speak, that's an opportunity to learn and record. That's an opportunity I'll repeat that. That is an opportunity to learn and record.
Yeah.
And when you have an opportunity to learn, you have an opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
And that's why we created the Speaker's Journal, because I wish I had this back in the courtroom and I could have wrote down how I felt, my objectives, what I was. If I could have had that, it could have been.
It absolutely could have been. So what I love about this book is that what Emmet's talking about is capturing after the moment, right? So you design this so that you can capture after the moment. Obviously there's a lot more in it, but I happen to have opened it up on one of the pages that goes on in here. What went well, what didn't go so well, what the key takeaways were.
I think that evaluation people should be doing. This just as a business technique generally, right? Because you're seeing, just like what we've been doing for the quarterly review, what works, what doesn't work. But as a speaker agent and managing speakers, I know that a speaker will be on stage and they'll be, when they're really in their flow, sometimes they come out with stuff that they didn't even know that they knew, right? And they were like, God, that was a really good one-liner, or I don't know where I pulled that one from.
Exactly.
And then if you're not capturing that, to then go, okay, I need a slide around that, or I'm going to put this in the podcast next week, or whatever it might be. They're the beautiful things that if you're not capturing it in the moment in something like this journal, you'll lose it, you'll forget about it. And speaking is speaking all over, right? Speaking on stages, you might be on a summit, you might be on a podcast, you might be being interviewed on a Facebook Live. This is all classed as speaking. And sometimes when you've got a very good person interviewing you, they will pull out stuff from you that you've forgotten about. And these are the gems that then you can take and use in your own content. So I think it's a brilliant idea, Emmet.
Really
Thank
is.
you.
And I think also, you know, sort of like because there are many pages as well as some really good informative stuff around how you can kind of build up, which we'll ask you about in a second. But I think there's something there about seeing your own trends, seeing your own confidence grow as you go, you know, sort of whether that's bigger audiences, whether that's more intimate audiences, so that you actually get a sense of what you're doing. So I'm absolutely enjoying. Sebastian at the moment is going,
just cancel the appointment.
I have to go, and I really want to stay because it's really indulgent, and he's really excited because the appointment actually got cancelled, so he can stay, which is really good. So I'm just enjoying that little bit of conversation. But I think there is something here absolutely to be said for observing your own journey and over a longer piece of time. A little bit like, you know, with the business boost day that we did, we get people to look over the quarter and extract everything from the quarter, not just the last thing that we did, because actually there's a trend and a pattern to what we do that allows us to grow and develop and hone in on the one thing that we might want to focus on for the next talk or the next sort of engagement that we have, right?
Exactly.
So yeah.
Exactly.
And so with that, obviously you've distilled a lot of the wisdom. I know you to be a good reader, or a great reader, a voracious one, shall we say. So you've obviously distilled a lot of things into this. So what are your tips for becoming a better speaker?
Yeah, so I think that I took down three things. I wrote down three things actually. First of all, and this is key, always be yourself. Do not try and be anyone else. Like, your way of speaking, your personality, who you truly are, is who people turn up to listen to. They don't turn up to listen to someone you're trying to be. So always try and find who you really are when you speak. The second one then is
just on that one, Emmet, it's really interesting because we were running a clubhouse room yesterday with Alex Merry, who's also a speaker trainer, and the topic was actually, do you need to be an extrovert in order to speak? And that was one of the key messages from him as a speaker trainer, that actually the authenticity, you don't have to be a Tony Robbins of the world if you're an introvert and like have everyone high-fiving and be this larger than life character. If you look at someone like Brené Brown, who's an introvert, and her delivery style, it's very soft and gentle, but she draws people in rather than puts the energy out there. And it was a really interesting conversation just because he used to be a TEDx curator as well. And actually about 40% of the people, the majority of people who get a TEDx gig are introverts.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So the majority of people who apply are extroverts, but the majority of people who actually get the TEDx gig are introverts. So it's just all going back to, you don't have to be somebody else. You don't have to go, oh, I need to be like that person. And I'm sure your speaker challenge that we put the link up to earlier shows a range of different people, right? Of how you can learn from their styles.
And
exactly.
So I have just because we did an interview with Alex as well. So as well as the clubhouse yesterday, we also did an interview with him around finding your voice as an introvert. So I've just popped that in the link for everyone, and I'll pop it into the Connection Hub as well, so that you can actually sort of see that in there. But yeah, so good first tip, and Sebastian's actually saying around your first tip around be yourself. If you don't come as you will not sustain. You'll tire yourself, and I think that's a really key point, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think the second point then is treat your words like a currency. So imagine I'm going to go speak some finance now, purchasing power parity. It's like that, right? I'm not even going to go any further than that. But basically, it's for your pound today, and that's a word. What can you do with that pound, that word, as you grow? What value can you bring to your words, essentially? And every time you speak, see it as a pound, and maybe you want to increase your value of that to £20. So treat your words like currency, like value, because I think so, and I speak for myself. I remember when I was just saying words, and I was like, I wasn't having an impact. It was falling deaf on people's ears, and then I was blaming other people, and I was saying, "Oh, because you don't listen, you're not hearing me." But actually, I was having no impact because of the value of my words. They were not influential. They were not persuasive. They were not having the impact that they needed to have.
I think a lot of copywriters will probably agree with you with that one as well, Emmett, because they a lot of the time people say, has that word earned the right to be on that page? Because if you've got a short space of copy, that every word needs to be powerful, impactful, and has earned the right to be there. If you're filling your page with lots of words, very much like your keynotes, people will just get lost.
Yeah,
For sure.
Exactly. So the third point then is, and this ties in with the journal, is use every speaking opportunity to learn. Don't go into the workplace, you hear someone who speaks really well and not write down what they did. And if you're speaking and you have a moment where you did something absolutely fantastic, over the moon, rocket booster words that made everyone go, oh my God, you're amazing, write it down, learn from it, make notes. Don't let the moment just fall by, because your brain only can take in so much information.
Great. And that will be really helpful for us. I know I've put the link in there, the Amazon link to the journal, where people can look inside. But maybe you can take us through the journal and actually just show us some of the key sections, and so people bring it to life for them so they can see how they can use it. I know Helena showed one page, but do you want to just tell us a little bit about how you came to write it?
Yeah, sure. So the first thing is, if for anyone who's watching, and I'll explain through my own words, is that firstly, we like to build empathy, and we talk about, and I say we, my partner and I, Valeria, we talk about our own story with speaking. So we make it very clear that we were not good speakers. I certainly was not a good speaker for the reasons I mentioned. We also talk about, why journaling. So why journaling is important, because I think that's really important. A lot of people, they see a journal with speaking and they're like, sorry, what? How does that work? Explain that one, mister. So, that's really important that we tie that in. And we also bring in science here, because journaling is intention. And when you journal with intention, you speak with intention. So we talk about some of the science and the kind of the neuroscience behind journaling and the importance with speaking. So this is science. This isn't just Mr. Emmet coming up with a load of crazy things and hoping it works. This is the scientists saying this, not me. The second point then is, we talk about, so these are really important parts. So when we talk about key skills, I did a lot of research, and there were some fundamental methods and approaches, skills, whatever you want to call them, that I thought everyone should know this. Everyone should know this.
Yeah.
And one of them was Aristotle's model of persuasion. Logos, ethos, pathos. Everyone should know that. Everyone.
Yeah.
So
Give people a hint, like don't make them like suffer on this one, because they might not all know. Tell us.
yeah, so it's basically, it's to do with, so I'm sure most people will know about Aristotle. He was obviously a complete genius. I would go that far, a genius. And this is going back 2,000 years ago. He developed a model that he believed every great orator, every great speaker should incorporate this in order to have influence.
Yeah.
That's it in essence. But logos, ethos, pathos, which is Latin, it's basically your logic. Do you bring emotion, which is pathos? And also, do you bring credibility? Do you back up what you say with data, with facts, with information? That's essentially it. And if you're in a sales role, if you're listening in, or you're talking to your husband and you want to persuade him to go out and dump the bins or something, this is a great
You
thing
still need all
to.
three.
Yeah, you'll need all three. So if you want to persuade your husband or your wife to cook, use pathos, ethos, logos,
And logo.
and you can thank me. Just drop me a DM and let me know.
But it's a really great thing to be able to look at and pull apart. And I think this is one of the things that does make us better speakers. As you say, the moment you step back and you start to reflect on something, the easier it is to extract the good, the bad, the ugly, the things that you never want to do, the things that you want to do more of. But to actually then also have a structure for moving forward around how you might arrange your conversation, around how you might arrange the speaking that you're about to do. Those three core elements are probably something that most people probably put in two of them because they have a preference for that, and some people will then kind of struggle or potentially need to learn to put another piece in. So I will very much kind of come from so the logos is definitely, sort of, I love the structure of something. Kelly and I are founded on structure. The fun or the empathy piece is definitely one that I bring. And Kelly, actually, because we're a bit yin and yang, Kelly brings a lot of the results and the data in. And so I think part of the magic that we create is to actually take all of those three things and present them, which is why we do these trainings at 1:00 every Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
And I think it ties into, as well as the fact that most public speakers are great storytellers. And storytellers are great at the emotion, the telling, the empathy that you were talking about, that side of things. And there is an art to storytelling. We've done lots of training on this in the Connection Hub, where there is that structure. And the thing that I feel that most speakers leave out of their talks is the research, is the credibility, is the results bit. And you're like, oh my God, that's the winning formula. That's the thing that then goes, oh, I really trust that person, or impressed upon, or that makes sense to their logical mind, which is where the negotiation and influence comes from. So don't just leave them with a warm feeling, move them forward to the next step, right?
And invite them to do a next step. And I think that's actually, sort of, because you're applying the logic, it is about that. Well, I know I'm holding back from it at the moment. So we'll just address this one. Sebastian's actually saying, I need to find the right, I first need to find the husband. On it right away. Which is brilliant, right? But I think there is, as you say, Kelly, it's this whole piece around backing things up with the data that sits behind the logic that then invites people to go, oh, hang on a minute. So you can get inspired by a conversation, but you also then need to found it in, oh, these are the results that are possible. Those two things married actually allow you to take steps rather than just walk away inspired, for example.
And that's why I think TED Talks are great, because TED Talks do a lot of that third step most of the time, because they need to back up their idea.
For sure. And so as a little thing, so what the thing that prompted you to write this was absolutely kind of your own story and helping people be better, for sure, at what they're doing. The principles that have come from it, where have those kind of come from?
So if I mix a few things here. So one is, having been in Toastmasters, the key principle there was that when I was speaking, I was always getting evaluated. So everything in Toastmasters, you get evaluated. And I really felt, I was like, okay, apart from having a speaking coach, how can I self-evaluate myself? So if someone's giving me feedback, let's say I'm at work, let's make this practice. And by the way, can I just say to everyone listening, public speaking is everyday speaking. The word public speaking, I think, haunts people and scares people. It's just speaking. So that's something which as well is just really important to highlight. But going back to the point is self-evaluation is key. So if you're speaking to your boss and he tells you, oh, hey, just some points here, and you take those away about your speaking, and you then evaluate yourself, you need to be able to write this down. So I took the idea, the formula from Toastmasters and applied it, and that's the kind of the
Right.
key part.
Yeah.
The other elements to the journal, such as I mentioned the Aristotle's model,
Sure.
but I also bring in the power of storytelling, and I break that down. So from a more commercial point, I talk about Nike and the power they bring to their. I mean, when I think about great adverts, they're always a story, or they're not even related to something. So, for example, we bring up Colin Kaepernick, who knelt during the U.S. national anthem, I think back in 2016 because of discrimination and racial issues in the US, and Nike used that as an opportunity to market. Now it's a story. It's all about the story. So we bring in storytelling, and the other point then is, in my journey, I was, again, because as you mentioned, Helena, I love to read, I love to research. I'm a big bookworm, and I found nowhere where I could learn from the greats. So I thought, I'm going to learn from these people, and I'm going to put it into a very simple format for everyone, so everyone can get some information from these people.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
And
the essence.
it's wonderful, sort of it's great because I think it gives permission for all of us, because one of the things around being a portfolio or creating a blended business, which is what Kelly and I encourage people to do, sort of as we help people manage and run their speaker, author, coach business, you will have one preference for I'm a speaker mostly, or I'm a writer mostly in some way. There will be a preference, but that blend is what really works. And as you
Yeah,
say, there is no such thing as public speaking. There is speaking, and then there is speaking into the audiences that we actively have. So anything that allows us to really self-evaluate on that level really works. In fact, Joe's just saying what she's saying. Love self-evaluation. I'm often really tough on myself, mind you, and others tell me I come across better than I thought.
yeah,
So that's also part
wonderful.
of the
Yeah,
learning, right?
yeah,
So the evaluation can be there, but there is that whole kind of how critical or how helpful am I actually being, and what am. But that I think is part of what's beautiful about doing it over a period of time in a consistent way, so that you see those patterns,
yeah, yeah,
and hopefully that might even kind of let you be less hard on
yeah.
yourself.
And I just want to say something on Joe's comment, is that we guide in the journal, so we make it very clear that when you're giving self-evaluation, that you have a trusted person with you, who also gives you that objective advice in case you are being too tough on yourself.
That's good.
Nice,
So,
nice.
that's a very important point she raised.
Yeah. And a lot of the time sometimes you're too blind to stuff to see it, right? So you need somebody else's perspective, or
Yeah.
they hear things or see things that you might have just taken for granted. So an external person is great. And I know that we've put some links up, Emmet, but I know that you've actually got a specific discount for anyone that's watching this on the replay or live, where the link before was so people can look at the reviews and look inside the book on Amazon, and obviously they're welcome to get it on Amazon, but if they buy it directly from the link that is on your website then and use the code, then they get 10% off. Is that right?
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. So go and have a look, check it out on Amazon, but then get your 10% discount and get it from directly.
Say, go and get it direct, and it's a really nice experience to just have that arrive in support of what actually in support of yourself in this way. So other than that, where if people want to, obviously this will be up for as long as it's up, and sort of forever and ever as part of the learning stash that we have. This is 171, I believe, training sessions that we've run,
Wow.
or interviews, which is
Wow.
great. So as part of that, sort of whether you're watching a year down the line, do tag any of us into your questions in this way. But if people wanted to get directly in touch with you, Emmett, what's your best place other than obviously hanging out inside the Connection Hub?
Sure. Yeah. So if you go to our website, which is www.positiveprogression.com, you'll see who we are, and you'll also be able to drop me a message. My email is on that. Also, you can go to our Instagram and DM us there, which is underscore positive progression. And yeah, we'd love to speak to anyone, catch up, answer questions, empower, whatever. I love to have a chat, so that's why.
Typical Irish.
Yeah,
It is. It's like,
yeah, yeah,
come on then, bring me the
yeah,
conversation.
yeah.
Well, it's and it's interesting because whilst these are speaking engagements, as you say, all speaking is speaking, and so even having something like this counts. So whenever you are, whether you are tentatively, somebody put a post into the Connection Hub just yesterday, I think it was, in that whole, yay, I've celebrated my first podcast. I'm really excited that I've actually done it, and it's starting wherever you're at, and I think that's actually the thing that makes us better. The thing that most of all makes us a better speaker is getting up and doing it again and putting your hand up and going, where else can I speak? Because that's
Yeah.
actually the thing that allows you to hone your message more and more and more. And then these are just, cherries on top, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And just my final, words is just always be yourself. And just again, I repeat,
Mm.
just treat your words like a currency. And you are your voice and what you say and your story, you could really impact people. So get your voice out there, get your words out there. And I encourage that.
That's
That's
wonderful.
wonderful.
And thank you so much for joining us and sharing your little nuggets and pearls of wisdom as such. It
Yeah.
is a delight. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to say as well to both of you, thank you so much for having me on the show. And Helena, it's been a real pleasure also speaking to you off live. So, thank you so much for inviting me, and hopefully we'll speak again soon.
You are
You are
so
so
welcome. You're getting some thank yous in here as well. Right, I will see us out and have a great, wonderful week. Be productive, effective, and efficient, everyone.